Hello and welcome to 360 Sports on Trust TV. It is a beautiful day out there and we're right here trying to talk about nothing but sports and everything in between as well. I am Ibrahim Yusuf and right here in the studio with me to talk sports, I have Yusuf Akogu. Yusuf, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here again.
Always nice to have you.
Absolutely.
It's always a good time to talk sports.
Absolutely.
All the time.
Sport brings us together, so
exactly.
we can't stop talking about it.
Exactly. Always a unifying factor. You know, no matter how divided the country is, we always come together when it comes to sports.
Especially when the Super Eagles is playing.
Exactly.
See, we forget whether we're outside or Yoruba.
Exactly, and that's where we're going to kick off the show today. And talking about the Super Eagles now, news coming in is that the Super Eagles are going to play an international friendly against Costa Rica, so that we can be able to take a look at our new and improved Super Eagles and how they're coming into their own, so to speak. Well, we still haven't gotten over the disappointment of not going to the World Cup, and that still hurts a little bit, and it's going to hurt a little more when the World Cup actually kicks off and we are not there. But now the Eagles are playing Costa Rica and we're not going to the World Cup. Is this the right time for us to reboot the Super Eagles?
Yeah, I think so. We have enough time now to plan, prepare, and then for AFCON, then the next World Cup. I think the talent is there. We can't deny that fact. We have our players doing very well. You had Ademola Lookman, fantastic with Atalanta. Immediately you have Alex Iwobi, Victor Osimhen.
How brilliant is that guy right now?
Fantastic player he is. So we have, quite a whole lot of players there for, the coach should be even spoiled with choice right now. Especially in almost all departments of in the team. Almost all department. So I don't think. I think what we need to do now is to plan, prepare, and then make sure that next World Cup, what happened to us against Ghana shouldn't happen.
No, he talks about all departments in the team. A lot of people think that we're still lacking a goalkeeper. Yeah,
I really do not think so. I think we need to just harness what we have, bring them together. What's his name now? The guy with Omonia Nicosia against Manchester United.
Yes, Uzoho.
Against Manchester United did excellently well. I think he was man of the match.
Exactly.
In quote. So I think all we need to do is to harness these talents, bring them together. Even if you look at the local league, the lack of Ezenwa and so many of them are still there. And then, so I don't think you can't. In Nigeria, we produce some of the best goalkeepers in Africa. Vincent Inyama, Peter Rufai, Ike Choromo, and so on and so forth. So I don't think we really lack in that department. We can actually make do with what we have. And then we'll complement it with the defense.
All right. So talking about harnessing what we have a brand new manager, Jose Peseiro. He's been at the helm for a while now, for a couple of games. How do you rate him so far? Have you seen enough to actually give him any sort of rating?
Yes, in a way. Well, he's not really a well-known manager. Before he was appointed, he was an unknown quantity. But so far, so good. He's trying to, come in and see what he can do with the team. I think the problem I'm more concerned about is the administrative part of our football, which is always a problem. But today there's a news. I saw it on the news today that he's been owed $420,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's not been paid for a couple of months. That's a whole lot of money. So how do you expect him to perform? That's going to affect his morale. And then, of course, when you look at what is obtainable in Europe, by comparison, they don't owe coaches like that in Europe. So when you're owing him and you expect him to perform magic, it's going to be difficult. So that's why, in a way, you can't even blame him so much for not qualifying your Super Eagles for the World Cup. So I think the administrative part of our football needs to be, taken care of. Then I think he's not doing badly, but you need to know the team. Know his players.
Well, a lot of people actually believe that after the debacle of not going out for the World Cup, that we need a total overhaul of the Super Eagles. We need new players, new tactics, new philosophy. Since we have a new manager, do you subscribe to that?
No, are you going to bring new players from the moon? No, I don't think so. We have players. We have football players. All of them scattered across Europe and even in the local league. We have players. We have very good players. I think what we need is a manager to put them together. Yes, and I think that is the responsibility now before Pizarro right now. It's not going to be an easy one. It's not easy to manage Super Eagle. We all know that. From all coaches that manage the team can actually tell you that. So it's a very difficult one for him, and I really don't envy him at all because he has a whole lot of responsibility on his hand right now. I think players is another problem. Just for us to get it right administratively. I think once we get that done, then the players will perform.
All right, let's go back to our initial talk now, talking about the game coming against Costa Rica. Is going to be played on the 10th of November. We're trying to prepare for the AFCON qualifiers, and we're playing Costa Rica from Central America. Does that tally?
In a way, Costa Rica, they're a very rugged team.
Okay.
You understand? So just like African teams.
Okay.
So I think maybe that's why that choice actually came up, and also maybe looking at their pedigree. I don't know if they are going to the World Cup. I think they are going to the World Cup. I think it's also a build-up for them. Okay. A build-up game for them going to the World Cup as well. So we, as an African team, I think we're actually looking at that and see how we can actually get our team, get them fit for AFCON qualifiers. I think that is where that choice is coming from. And if you look at, again, the Eagles, we've been involved in a lot of games with African teams. I don't think any African team is a newcomer to the Super Eagles. So that is why I'm not really going to say Costa Rica is not a right choice. I think they're a right choice. They're going to be a strong test for the Eagles, considering the fact that they are going to the World Cup. They will take the game more seriously, and that will, I think, will motivate our boys to give their best. Sometimes Eagles give their best when they are playing against a strong opposition.
All right, so before we will move away from the Eagles now, let's talk about, we touched on a few individual players that we actually have. You talked to the likes of Ademola Lookman, Victor Osimhen, absolutely fantastic. And Alex Iwobi, of course, having a fantastic season. Does this bode well for the Eagles, having a lot of players like this, playing so many games, getting the right required form at the right time?
I think it's actually a boost for the team, for the Eagles, having players like that. The only thing is that is the fact that we're not going to the World Cup. But we have players doing so well. We expect to see them represent the country at the World Cup. So unfortunately, that is not going to happen. So we have some fantastic players, not forgetting Sadiq Kumara. I talked about him earlier when he got that injury with Real Sociedad was pained. It was after his move from his former club Almeria. After his move from Almeria to Real Sociedad, the expectation was so high on him. He got a couple of goals for them before he got that horrible injury that actually took him out of the team. So I think we have good players, and I think the future for the team, I think, is very, very bright. Very, very bright going ahead. Whoever that is coming to is managing the Eagles now, Pizarro or whoever that may come in the future. I don't think the players will be a problem at all.
All right, players not being a problem, in the future of Nigeria being very bright, because we have lots and lots of brilliant young players out there in devastating form at the moment all across Europe. Talking about young players that are in devastating form, someone who's been generating a lot of interest when it comes to teams in Europe and is having a very, very fantastic season with Borussia Dortmund is Jude Bellingham, England international, young man, having a prolific season, doing very well for Dortmund. The Dortmund have so much confidence in him right now that they are slapping a £130 million price tag on Jude Bellingham. Do you think he's worth that?
I don't think he's worth that. That money is too much for him. He's not Ronaldo or Messi. You understand? So,
but he could be the Ronaldo or Messi of the future.
Maybe in the future, but English players, from our experience that we have had with them, are always they only deceive you when you actually believe so much in them.
We saw it with Jadon Sancho.
With Sancho and all of that. And again, Dortmund, I think they are becoming like an academy for
like the Ajax of years gone by.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So they bring up fantastic 1 or 2, 3 players in the season,
and they sell them for big money.
Exactly, sell them off for big money. So I think that is what they are becoming. But putting a 130 million pounds on this guy, I think he's way too much.
But do you think there's a Premier League club crazy enough to pay that money for Jude Bellingham?
If there's any Premier League club crazy enough that can even afford to pay that money, maybe it's Manchester United. But I don't think Manchester United is interested in him right now. Maybe Liverpool.
Liverpool has been,
or maybe Manchester City. I don't think those ones are actually interested in him right now. I think maybe club like Real Madrid. But Real Madrid, they have a reservation. Especially when they want to buy an English player.
Exactly. English players don't fare that well.
Absolutely.
When it comes to Real Madrid.
David Beckham,
yeah,
and a few others.
And Steve
McManaman, yeah, and a couple of others. So I think it's difficult for me because my experience with English players has not really been, palatable. Yes, because most of them, when you believe so much in them, they tend to disappoint you.
Yeah, well, that's the usual accusation, is that the English tend to hype their players too much. We saw the likes of Jack Grealish. He's not really cutting it, showing his £100 million move to Manchester
Villa
City.
To Man City.
Exactly, and Jadon Sancho, big money move to Manchester United, is not finding it funny as well. Exactly. And of course, we're seeing players like Jude Bellingham now being rated for 130 million. Declan Rice is being quoted for 100 million, I think 120 or so. And when you add
don't forget that we bought Manchester United bought Maguire for 80 million pounds.
Not forgetting that Maguire was actually bought for 80 million. And you look at the situation right now. Do you think the price tag is weighing on these players?
I think so, because when you're coming in, for example, Jude Bellingham, when you're coming into a team, for example, and the price tag on you is like 130 million pounds. The expectation on you is going to be very high.
Exactly.
The whole fans, the team, everybody will expect you to perform magic. I remember when this guy that came to mind from Ajax, Anthony, was signed.
Exactly.
The first game he came, there was so much expectation. Fans were expecting a whole lot from him. Although he delivered, that they've got trust Brazilian, they will always rise up to the occasion. So, but you can't say the same of English footballers. So I think sometimes the price tag is also a major issue that should be looked at by the football managers across the world. I really don't know how that one's going to be, because most clubs now are competing when it comes to finances. You see, even Newcastle is coming up, and so many other clubs are actually coming up. So who knows? Newcastle may even buy him at the end of the day.
All right, well, we'll keep our eyes on that and see where Jude Bellingham finishes up at the end of the day. Young players coming in, heavy price tags, weighing them down and not giving the desired results. That is something that has become a theme when it comes to European football these days. Well, moving away from football, talking about another great now, Novak Djokovic hasn't been in the tournaments scene for a while because of his vaccination status and whatnot. But he's back right now in the Paris Masters. Won his first game, and it was in spectacular fashion. Well, let's talk about Novak Djokovic. Are there any more? We've run out of superlatives to actually describe this man, and of course the career that he had. How good is this man?
Oh, fantastic! Don't forget he's the defending champion of this particular tournament.
Masters, yes.
Absolutely. So he's a fantastic players coming in. And then taking over from the likes of Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. So he's been fantastic. If you watch his game yesterday against Maxime Cressy of the United States, he did very well. Straight set, he won that game 7-6, 7-1, and 6-4. Fantastic one for him there. So I think he's going to build on that in this tournament. And I wouldn't want, it's too early to start predicting. I think he's really, really good to go, and he's taking it game by game. And I think at the end of the day, he may also retain.
A lot of people actually call him the unofficial number one because if he had played in those tournaments, especially the Grand Slam tournaments that he was not able to play because of his vaccination status and his stand on vaccination, he would probably still be number one right now. Yeah,
certainly. That's why it's difficult for you to say he's still not the number one. So this tournament will also prove to us who is truly the undisputed number one on the court.
All right. Well, we've seen a rash of young players coming into tennis now. Like the old guard, the Federers. We saw Federer hang his racket. Nadal is still plugging away. He's still there. Djokovic is still there as well. But we're seeing the likes of Carlos Alcaraz coming to Daniil Medvedev. All these young players coming to the fore right now. How do you see the future of tennis panning out in the next 5-10 years?
So I think the future is very, very bright. Already they have mentors, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic. They are big mentors to all these guys coming up. I think the future is very, 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 very bright. And sometimes when you watch some of the games against some of these top guys like Djokovic, you see those young guys giving them a run for their money. So they use experience most cases to win some of those games. So I think that is what they are actually learning, and I think it's very, very bright for them. the future of tennis around the world is quite bright. I see quite a whole lot of young players dominating in years to come.
All right, well, quite a lot of young players coming in. It's a young man's game, actually. Sports in general now is turning out to be that. The old guard are phasing out, and we're getting new blood into the system. Talking about new blood now, let's shift our focus back to the UEFA Champions League. Action took place, and yesterday we had lots of games there that were played. Some teams crashed out, some qualified, and some games are coming up today as well to sort out the groups that haven't really been sorted out, because lots of teams have already qualified, and so the matches are going to be coming up today. Chelsea taking on Dinamo Zagreb, Milan hosting Red Bull Salzburg. That is a straight shootout now for second place when it comes to that group. Whoever wins it takes it, and Milan actually need a draw for that match. Real Madrid already qualified, take on Celtic. Shakhtar Donetsk hosting RB Leipzig, FC Copenhagen and Borussia Dortmund, Manchester City, Sevilla. Juventus, dead rubber for them against Paris Saint-Germain. Of course, Maccabi Haifa and Benfica. That group has already been sorted out with Paris and Benfica taking the cake when it comes to that one. Which fixture stands out for you when you look at this board?
Yeah, in this game, I think the straight for me, AC Milan next Salzburg. And that's going to be a game to look out for tonight, because the two teams still have a chance to qualify. Yeah. While AC Milan need a draw to go through, Salzburg need a straight win to qualify. So I think it's going to be a very tight one, but I think AC Milan will take it at the end of the day.
Okay,
Milan because I think they need it the most, and they're playing at home.
Because that was going to be my next question. I was like, Milan at the San Siro, and they actually need this to announce to the world that they are back amongst the big boys right now.
Exactly. A couple of weeks ago, I did say it on this same show that when Salzburg was topping the table, I told the presenter that look, that guy, they are just there as a placeholder for Chelsea and AC Milan.
Yeah, well,
and that is how he's turning out to be.
When the draws were initially made, I think a lot of people just went straight and said Chelsea, AC Milan. Yes, but Salzburg tried to upset the apple cart a little bit with beating Chelsea and drawing against Milan as well. Absolutely. So a lot of people actually gave Salzburg a chance, but they're still in it with a shout.
They are still in it, but I think they will settle for Europa League at the end of tonight.
Because a lot of people actually believe now, with this young Milan side as they are right now, they might bow under the pressure of playing at home and a high-stakes game like this, because this game has the potential to make or mar their season in Europe.
Yeah, but that's why I think they need it more, and they'll go for it. They'll go for broke. Although they need a draw, I see them going for broke. I mean, getting the maximum 3 points and then qualify for the next.
Because
for
playing for a draw is actually quite dangerous.
It is quite dangerous. It's quite dangerous. I mean, Salzburg may get that last minute goal, and then you are out of the competition. So I think they will go for the broke, try to get those goals very early in the game, and then pull through. I really do not think Salzburg can actually cause any upset tonight.
Chelsea already qualified, taking on Dinamo Zagreb. Chelsea had a shaky start to the Champions League. Thomas Tuchel got debut. Graham Potter came in, steadied the ship a little bit, got lots of good results under his belt, even though he got decimated over the weekend in the Premier League. But
he was hammered.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, but a little reality check there for Graham Potter. But they're sailing in the Champions League. Did you expect that?
Chelsea, if you look at the year they won the Champions League in 2012, at the beginning of that competition, they were not really doing very well. Remember, their coach was fired at the time, and a caretaker manager was hired, who came in eventually and won the Champions League for them. So they have a way of getting their European competition back on track at some point in the competition. I think that is what they have done. They've really done so well, even though they got hammered over the weekend by Graham Potter's former club side, Brighton. So it was really, really a reality check for them, just like you mentioned. I don't think that will have any impact on tonight's game, even though they've qualified. I think it's just like a test game for them to prepare for, their weekend game against Arsenal. They are hosting Arsenal years by weekend. So it's going to be also an opportunity for Potter to rest some players ahead of the weekend game.
All right, opportunity for Potter to rest some players. Real Madrid already qualified, taking on Celtic. I think that's quite a dead rubber. But Shakhtar Donetsk, Leipzig, there's still a little to play for when it comes to that match. I mean, Leipzig actually believe they can hold on to second place, while Shakhtar can have the chance to sneak in at the back post. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a straight fight between two of them, and they are going head to head against each other. So it's going to be a game to look out for tonight. I think there's going to be more focus on that game.
Okay.
Considering the fact that Real Madrid have already, they've already qualified.
Yeah.
For the round of 16, even though they lost their 100% record in the last game, so they've still qualified. So I think the game tonight is between RB Leipzig and Leipzig and Shakhtar. So it's going to be it's an unpredictable game because if you look at the two teams, they're in the same category,
almost evenly balanced.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's difficult to predict. So it's anybody's game.
All right. Well, the Spanish teams haven't been having it easy when it comes to this year's Champions League. Yes. We saw Atletico Madrid and Sevilla, Barcelona. Yes. You know, they all crashed out. Sevilla, they're teetering there at the brink, may or may not, because they have a lesser goal difference than Borussia Dortmund, and even if they do get the points, that is probably not going to be enough for them because they might end up on the same points, but on the balance of play, head to head, and of course goal difference, that might actually kick them out. So at the end of the day, we might have just one Spanish team in the knockout stages.
Yeah, I think football is gradually moving back to England.
Okay.
Spanish clubs have dominated the UCL competition for a very long time. Not forget, Madrid won it back-to-back 3 times before they won the last edition again against an English team. So I think this year is for all the 4 English teams. I think almost all of them are qualified for the round of 16. Though this is not the first time they're doing that, so they've been doing that for a long time. I think this season it look like it's going to be their season again in Europe. So for Spanish football, I think is really a massive decline from what you're witnessing this season. Considering the fact that the lack of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, you know, they are dominant forces when it comes to European football. So it is really bad season for them, especially Barcelona. See them get knocked out from the Champions League in the group stages.
That's terrible.
I think this is really terrible. I think this really needs to go back to the drawing board. A lot of work for Xavi there to do. His former club. I mean, he played for them as a footballer, yes. So it's a whole lot of work for him to do at this point in time to get the Barcelona back on track.
All right.
Maybe they have to go back to PSG and bring back Lionel Messi.
All right. Well, the last group there has actually been sorted out. And PSG and of course Benfica taking the cake on that one. Juventus, they're playing a dead rubber against Paris Saint-Germain. The result really doesn't matter. Of course, after getting beat by Maccabi Haifa, I think that is the lowest point of their season. Maybe they might be able to get it back on track. Not doing very well in Serie A as well, losing a couple of games and off the pace when it comes to that.
I think for the old ladies, I mean, this is one of the worst seasons for them. Since I've been following Serie A, this is one of the worst seasons I've seen for them. You know, I think it's going to take a whole lot of overhaul to get them back on track.
One word now. Is this the end of the road for Allegri? One word.
Well, possibly, yes.
All right, possibly the end of the road for Massimiliano Allegri when it comes to the old lady of Turin, that is Juventus. Lots of games to look forward to when it comes to the Champions League. We'll keep our eyes peeled for that, and of course we'll bring you all the results and the action as it unfolds all day, every day on 360 Sports, right here on Trust TV. Thank you very much, Yusuf Akogu, for coming on the show. It's always fantastic to have you. Always a blast.
Always good to be here.
All right, it's nice to be here, and it's nice to talk sports all day, every day. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Have a lovely day.